Hi, and welcome to this video. This video will be demonstrating the behavior of the Launchpad MK2 from Novation and how that interacts with FL Studio. First up, I would like to start by apologizing for the quality of the narration. English is not my first language, and I am even less trained in public speaking. The device that is in front of me right now is the Novation Launchpad X. It is not the Mark II. However, using this piece of software here, it should have identical behavior to the Mark II. The only difference is that its velocity sensitivity does not work. All of the nodes are sent at 100 velocity, which is why I'm looking to move away from this setup. Speaking of, this is not a tutorial. This is a documentation of the features and behavior. The reasoning is because, like I said, I'm looking to move away from this setup. I will not be providing any assistance in getting it to work or anything like that. I have in fact made this for a forum thread. This particular forum thread, it's looking to get good native support for the Launchpad X in FL Studio. This is mostly just so that I can point to this video and say I wanted to do that, rather than being a tutorial on how to get it to work. All right. We are loaded into a performance mode project. This is the default one. If you go to File, New from Template, Performance, and 8x8, it should load up the project that looks like this. This next one, because it lets me demonstrate a couple things that I want to be able to demonstrate and how they work here. But other than that, it works in any performance mode project, obviously. As you can see here, all of the pads are lit up because we have clips loaded in all of them. You can see we have clips here and similar ones load up here. If we press on here, it will start playing the clip. You hear a kick drum. We can add some more drums and loops and similar things. To stop a clip, you can press the buttons here on the right side, the ones with the arrows. So pressing the ones stops the clips. You can also do the Ableton style stopping, where you can simply press an empty clip. I don't really like this because it doesn't really give you feedback, but it is an option. You saw that I actually used these buttons here to navigate. This allows you to move around the playlist. This is very, very standard for all the Launchpad stuff. You've seen this a million times before. A nice thing that the Mark II allows you to do is if you press all four at once, and see they flashed there for a moment, we have now entered a mode where it no longer jumps just one, but rather it jumps 8. So now if we go down by 1, you can see on the playlist it moves a lot more. This is, you can quickly switch between you can kind of build virtual pages out of your clips essentially, which is very, very handy. If we can simply press all 4 buttons again, and now we're back to navigating regularly with just single buttons, or singular steps rather. This is the standard behavior. Something that was asked for me to be demonstrating is subclips. So subclips are having multiple clips bound to the same button. The way that this works is simply pressing the same button again cycles the clip. So here we can see that this has cycled into one pattern, but if we look at the playlist here, we can see multiple patterns assigned to the same pad. So if we press it again, it goes to the next one, and again, and again, and then it loops around afterwards. We can stop it as per usual. There is another bigger navigation menu than just using these buttons, which I find very, very handy. If we press the session button, we enter this view. This view is essentially a map of your playlist. So the little orange color here, that indicates where we are currently looking at. So that represents the red box. And each one of these pads represents an 8x8 segment. So this gives you a huge area that you can quickly traverse through in your playlist. So if we go here, you saw there that it flickered and it went down lower. You can see where we are currently. And the blue simply indicates that there is clips in that 8x8 area. So if we move clips down here, this would also then be blue. Another very handy thing is that if we actually go here and we enable this clip, and we go down, you can see that anything that has playing clips also blinks, which is very, very handy to know where your things are playing. Let's go there and disable that so it doesn't get old. The other thing that this allows you to do is you can see that side buttons here are glowing blue. There are no clips here. These don't actually represent any 8x8 areas in the playlist. Rather, these are special pages assigned by Novation for the that has various MIDI controls and playlist controls and similar things. I don't entirely know what all of them do. I think one of them is broken, at least on my setup with the Launchpad X. Novation has provided very little documentation for how the Launchpad Mark II actually works with FL Studio, which is a little weird because it works remarkably well. There's a lot of really, really nice things here. And it's actually a very, very well-featured pad for actually interacting with FL Studio. You can enter the sub-pages with these buttons. So simply pressing this button will get me to one of the sub-pages. Or alternatively, when we are here in the main view, you can actually press this back button. So if you're say a little bit further out, then this back button obviously will get you back. But if you're all the way to the left, simply pressing this back button will actually get you to first to the pages for the sub pages here, which is very, very nice. Also, once you're here, these pages will simply move you around, and then going for the first one, going back from this one will just send you back to the playlist. So this first page, I think is the one. I think this one is broken. I don't, at least for the integration with the external software that makes the Launchpad X work. It appears to be that every button is simply bound to the same MIDI channel and MIDI controller. It does not seem to function correctly. I don't know what it does. All of this comes from me simply playing around with it and kind of figuring it out, because like I said, Novation has very, very little documentation on how the Mark II works. The next page is a piano keyboard, very simple. Let me go down to bass. Boop, boop. You can hear we're playing bass. These buttons here on the side actually have special purposes. The first one is a play and pause. You can see up there in the top left, we are playing and pausing. We also have just a stop, which sends us all the way to the start of the playlist. And then we have a record button. Very, very handy for recording without having to take your hands off of the pad. The further ones here let you actually traverse around in the channel rack. So you can see that we're switching between the different instruments. Again, very, very handy. And up next here, we have this button that simply lets us hide and show the playlist, if you want to hide or show your playlist. These last two buttons, I have not been able to figure out what they do. I'm sorry, like I said, very little documentation. Next page, this is also a keyboard, still chromatic. This is simply a different layout with some, if you prefer this setup. This is a little more interesting. So obviously we have a drum pad up here. This is mapped as per FPC's defaults. So if you have not changed how FPC's drum pads are mapped to the MIDI, these should just work out of the box. If you have changed it, you have to change it back to the defaults. We also have 8 MIDI controls here. So these are all individual separate MIDI controls. They're not the Novation's own ones that you would get if you were to configure this from the software, which are, I believe, excellent, but unfortunately not supported. Rather, these simply pressing here just activates puts the MIDI controller at the appropriate level. So 0%, 100%. This is 50-ish here, a little bit more than 50, a little bit less than 50. Unipolar controls are going to be a pain with this, but it works. We have also then another 4 here with less fidelity, but at least we have them. On the side, we still have the same controls here, so same ones as on the last page. Up next, we have 8 more faders. So this is just this half of the page, but doubled up. So it gives you more controllers with the same playlist controls. Same one, but laid out sideways. This is 2 separate controllers. So You have the green is one MIDI controller, the other one is the yellow is another MIDI control. Very, very nice for a little bit more fidelity. This is just a weird one. It is a singular MIDI control here. I don't know why it has this particular color pattern. Maybe to just look nice, no clue. Very nicely actually, the side buttons here, you can see we no longer have the playlist controls here. Rather, these are, this is in itself its own MIDI control. So you have 2 MIDI controls here on the page, and you have 8 points of fidelity here, and this one has the full 64. This is another keyboard, still again chromatic, not sure what's up. This is the same one as the last page, but it has a color setup, so you can actually see what the different ones are. So, just C, and we go up. C's are marked as red. It has 2 levels of overlap, so I believe this and this are both the same key. Oh no, never mind. This and this, 3 points of overlap. So these are the same one. These are both F4. And the standard playlist controls here. This is actually a very, very nice one. This is for adjusting your tempo. So these buttons will let you change your tempo. You can see that our tempo goes up by 5 when we push the red ones, goes up by 1 when we push the outer yellow ones, and when we push the inner yellow ones, it goes up by 0.1. Up here, these are the playlist controls again, so play, pause, reset, and this is metronome. And then down here we have tapping the tempo, so you can tap a custom tempo here if you want to, if you prefer to do it that way. Let's put it back up to where we want it. There we go. And then this is a backwards and forwards control for, I believe, the playlist. And then more standard playlist controls here. This is for more generic DAW things. So these buttons, this row of buttons here, this allows you to hide specific user interface elements and show them. You can actually open up your plugin picker here. Similar things like that. We have undo and redo here, which is actually surprisingly nice. This particular button here allows you to change your snapping mode. So you can see that the snapping is changing from beat, bar, cell, half a beat, similar stuff. And over here in the top left corner, we have general directional movement. So you can see that it's moving me around in the playlist when I press these. The middle one actually full screens. And then I don't think left and right actually do anything here in the playlist, but if we select the mixer, you can actually see that in the mixer we can change between the channels. Same thing applies here. You have your left and right, and then you have, here we have a weird button. I'm not entirely sure why you would want this. It probably has something to do with an internal thing. It simply adds a marker called auto. I'm going to assume that FL Studio has some feature that interacts with a marker called auto. I have not used it, but I do know that it messes up our playlist for the performance mode. So let's just reload this. And then this one over here allows us to cycle between the currently selected user interface element. So we currently are in the playlist. You can see that now the mixer got slightly darker, indicating that it is currently the object of focus. And this will let us cycle back and forth with it. The button here will simply hide, progressively hide the user interface elements, and we can then bring them back up here. And that was the last page here. There is, as far as I know, no additional features here. I could be wrong. Again, like I said, Novation has terrible documentation for this. If you are currently using this setup, yeah, it functions great with the exception of the velocity sensitivity not working. Other than that, I don't really have much complaints about it, but I would recommend to keep an eye on this forum thread on the FL Studio page. I will leave a link to this in the description as well. The goal here is to get at least good Launchpad X support. I don't think that it's going to be identical. I'm not the developer here. It's Maxwell Zendolite, who's been doing a great job. But yeah, I recommend keeping eyes on this, because if you are using the Launchpad X, this is not the native behavior. You have to run external software to get this. Velocity sensitivity doesn't work. It's a kind of a pain, and it would just be nicer to have it working directly in FL Studio. Yeah, that's about it.